Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Entertainment Expansion. We're your hosts, Tyler Callahan and Mike Ferrante. Mike, how you doing this week?
Not bad, Tyler. Not bad. How about yourself?
I'm doing pretty good. I mean, think as good as anyone can be during this shutdown of the economy of the world as we wait for this pandemic to pass. Um, but like we mentioned last week's episode, it's not really any new movies coming out. If nothing was delayed, we could be talking about Mulan next week. That's not happening. So, since the first director series did pretty good, why not continue it? We're going very original, just like the last one. We're talking about another British director, but he is, I would say the word that comes to mind, he is very stylish in how he directs his movies. We're talking about the one and only Edgar Wright. He has not made a huge blockbuster film, but he has made very memorable films. Mike, what has he made so far?
Well, if we are going in order, he debuted with the wonderful Shaun of the Dead, the zombie romantic comedy that came out of nowhere in the early 2000s, which is known as a classic. Um, Unfortunately, the movie didn't really, it definitely succeeded in the box office, but I gotta say, I don't know if America was ready for that raunchy English comedy just yet. That being said, he followed that up with the second film, which is Hot Fuzz, which is a buddy cop comedy action movie. Thirdly, he ventured out into the big world of, I guess, superhero movies, technically.
Yeah,
Comic
definitely
book
pulls
movie.
from that.
We'll call it a comic book movie. Scott Pilgrim versus the World. I think we're on four. Four. He did the finale for the Cornetto trilogy, which is, how to put this, they're all connected, but they're not connected at all. And that is Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and finally The World's End. And his most recent film, if you haven't heard about it, you've heard us bitch about it for not winning an Oscar, is Baby Driver.
Yeah. Yeah, if you have not seen Baby Driver, then you have absolutely heard us complain in its defense. But yep, those are his movies. Obviously, he has a horror movie coming out. Well, supposed to come out this September. We'll see now at this point. And the other biggest thing he was attached to, superhero wise, was Ant-Man. Before creative differences between him and Marvel Studio, they went their separate ways. So he could have had a superhero movie, but we'll talk about the movies he actually finished. I would say the first thing when I think of Edgar Wright, I do think of the Cornetto trilogy first, and I think an issue, I wouldn't say an issue, but something he has to work on for the rest of his films is maybe he wants to be known more than that. Now, that's not to take away from the Cornetto trilogy; they are fantastic movies, and he should be proud of them. They're fantastic.
I agree. They're all works of art.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with one. But I would say watching all of his movies, that a lot of them are actually unique in the style that he doesn't. So just to pick a few, Hot Fuzz with the constant jokes going back and forth, and the quick cuts that he uses in the movie, it works. Scott Pilgrim, the standout feature of the style, besides the style of like he makes it look like it's a live action comic book at times.
Yeah,
Um, the fights are choreographed so fucking well. And then even Baby Driver, the style is the music, how the music fits to what the characters
every
do.
motion, every movement, the
Mm-hmm.
music is synced to.
Yes.
And then you actually see touches of that in Shaun of the Dead. That was very early on of his music splicing into film. There's the scene in the bar where they're fighting all the zombies and Queen comes on and it's Don't Stop Me Now. When they're hitting the zombies with the pool cues, it's in sync with the beat of Don't Stop Me Now.
Okay, so it's something he's brought with him over time.
Correct.
But I mean, besides that, besides the style, the visual flair that he brings, it's just that he's a funny dude. Like the scripts he writes himself or he helps write. I mean, a lot of the jokes are on point.
Yeah, they are. And it's very it's not like Kevin Hart rock type of funny where it's the comedy's right in your face. It's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of subtle comedy as well.
It's subtle comedy. It's reference comedy. Yeah, like it's not like, oh, I'm stupid, I just hit the wall, ha ha ha. Like, no, I mean, there's a purpose to the joke.
Yeah, I will say his movies they get better every time you watch them because you pick up new things you didn't notice and
Yeah,
new jokes you didn't notice.
especially in the Cornetto trilogy, I definitely pick up stuff rewatching those movies.
Like when I watched The World's End several times, it took me so long to pick up the majority of the jokes. I'm sure I still miss some. Like the running joke of Gary's mom being dead. Like
Yeah,
that
how they just constantly reference it.
yeah, how they constantly reference it. And then Nick Frost is telling Simon Pegg, people could actually die. And Gary's like, I know, my mom could actually be dead. And then Nick Frost breaks the glass. And then at the end, when Nick Frost is going through all the people that didn't make it, he mentions Gary's mom.
Yeah, yeah. You brought up with the jokes, but like, yeah, like he doesn't waste the script page. Like
Nope.
his movies are usually jam packed, and even on a first glance, like you said, like you need to rewatch them. On first glance, it's like it's fine, it makes sense. Like there's some deeper meaning behind some of the stuff, and you see threads connected throughout the movie. Obviously, I was gonna say what's your best movie, but obviously we will save that for the list. What is a movie like? Because again, we're just saying how great it is. What's one movie that gives you the most issues? It doesn't have to be a bad movie, but one that stands out that's not as good as the rest.
I mean, that's easy. That's Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Agreed.
For me, like the movie just didn't click. And I like comic book movies. I love Edgar Wright. It's just something about the movie. Maybe it's Michael Cera. Maybe I just don't like watching him. But it just wasn't my cup of tea. That doesn't mean it's a bad movie, because it was definitely well done. Like you said, the style of it is on point. It literally makes it seem like it's a comic book movie, like straight from the pages.
Agreed.
Yeah,
Yeah, because I actually watched that for the first time, so I was prepared for this podcast. I was this almost was a prestige for me, where at first I wasn't liking the movie, but then the ending was like, okay, this is an amazing movie. This kind of did it, but not as well. Two-thirds of the movie, I'm like, why do I care about Michael Cera's character? He is a
correct.
douchebag. He doesn't do anything for himself, and it's like, why should I feel sad about him? Now, obviously, they do fix that toward the end, where he does realize, he kind of really treated the Asian girl like shit, apologizes, makes up with the band, and like there is some growth there, but I have to wait until like the last 20 minutes to see any growth. And it really was like the side characters were like the more standout. Like his gay roommate, he was great. At first, I didn't like him, but like at least unlike Michael Cera's character, he knew he was an asshole. He acted like an asshole, but because he was honest with it and just did his thing, is like that was more enjoyable to watch. But I will say, for a movie in 2010, it's got a stacked cast
Oh, it does.
compared to his other movies.
I was just going to mention that. But also, I think the cast it was stacked because they were a bunch of unknowns at the time.
That's true. I mean, yes, 10 years later, some of them are more well known, Anna
Yeah.
Kendrick and stuff. But yeah,
Chris Evans, yeah, he's huge now.
yeah.
But
Well, this
he
came out
wasn't
1 year
always,
before his Captain America run started. So yeah,
and he was just coming. Let's say he was coming up from the Fantastic Four franchise, burning the flames. No pun intended. But so yeah, a lot of the cast is a lot of actors before they really blew up.
yeah, a lot of them except Michael Cera.
Yeah, he
Uh,
never really. He kind of stayed exactly where he was at.
oh yeah, I mean, obviously the key girlfriend Ramona. I mean, she's in Birds of Prey. So yeah,
Yeah, that's right.
one of
That's
the best
funny.
parts of Birds of Prey too.
That's a different discussion for a different time, Tyler.
I know. I had Scott point that out. But yeah, I agree with you. I mean, Scott Pilgrim. I mean, I wouldn't say it's a bad movie, but it's definitely a movie that's
Not
I
on par with the rest.
I would go on YouTube to watch the fight scenes, and that's it. That's basically it. Like, unlike his other movies, this one is not really rewatchable.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah. I guess. Before we go into our other list, and I guess so we can talk, so we don't spoil the list, we'll do a list, and then we'll talk about our favorite movie. What do you think he should do post his next movie? It's supposed to be a horror movie set in London. Past that, what do you want to see from him?
I don't know, honestly, because it seems like he wants to go away from the comedy, which I get, because he
Mm-hmm.
had three rock solid comedies. So, and I get it. He wants to grow as a director and make different films, and it proved fruitful for Baby Driver, which I guess you would call it a crime.
It was funny, but I would consider it an action movie.
Yeah, a crime action drama, I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah.
And that was amazing. So I guess we're gonna have to wait and see for the next movie for me to tell you about that, because I'm okay with him doing virtually anything at this point. He's done no wrong yet.
Agreed. I guess the one thing I'd want from him is, unless it's a new movie with Simon Pegg or Nick Frost, I would like him to keep doing original movies. The Cornetto trilogy, they're all unique movies. Baby Driver's unique. His new one is supposed to be unique as well. The only thing that he's done that was not original is Scott Pilgrim, because that was based off a comic book. Which, who knows? Maybe that's his issue. Is that he's great at making stories, but maybe he's not as good as adapting stories.
It's possible.
But even then, I'm not going to give him shit for Scott Pilgrim. It's just the characters themselves, like some of the characters, Michael Cera,
Yeah,
and
to be
it's more.
honest, that movie would have worked much better any other way.
Yeah, if anything, my main issue is the source material of the movie. Edgar Wright did I think, a good job considering what we had to work with. But I guess with that, Mike, do you want to give us your list of worst to best?
Worst to best should be no shock. Coming in last place, we have Hot Fuzz. Just
Sorry, what?
kidding. Just kidding. It's Scott Pilgrim versus the World. Then we have Shaun of the Dead. Ooh, this is gonna be a tough one now. I'm gonna say Hot Fuzz, Baby Driver, World's End.
All right, my list will be last place, Scott Pilgrim versus the World. Fourth place will be Shaun of the Dead. Third place will be Baby Driver. Second place will be World's End, and first place will be Hot Fuzz. So,
All right. So this should be interesting. Tyler, why'd you choose Hot Fuzz?
I chose Hot Fuzz because it is a movie I fell in love with the first time I watched it. I fell in love with it. It stayed with me. It stayed with me. The characters, the jokes, it stayed with me. It's rewatchable. I can put that on anytime and I will not be bored. I watch clips on YouTube. I have it in 4K. I love the movie. I think the movie is peak Simon Pegg. Actually, no, scratch that. It's not peak Simon Pegg. That's World's End. But it's peak Nick Frost. It is
Oh yeah.
also peak side characters. For the characters Edgar Wright wrote for the movie, they're at their top. The village. And honestly, I think for me personally, the movie came out when I was living in Ireland at the time. And in seeing like a small village, like a small town area, it kind of hit me a little differently. So I do have that, connection to it that's different from, say, other people watching it. But it's like, honestly, toward the end with the final battle where Edgar Wright's
Oh
basically
yeah.
parodying Bad Boys, it's a better Bad Boys.
It is. It
Um,
100% is. You have James Bond being a villain.
I know it's yeah, Timothy Dalton. He can basically do no wrong. He killed it in his performance. But yeah, no, those are just, I know it's a bunch of different reasons, but that's why, yeah, that's why Hot Fuzz is up there. Though it is really close with The World's End. But why is World's End your number one? What stood out to you?
Well, as much as I love Hot Fuzz, and it is the movie that got me hooked on Edgar Wright, The World's End I can just watch endless times because, I remember because I saw the Cornetto trilogy in theaters. They had a select screening that showed Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, World's End all back to back. And when Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz came out, I was too young to see it in theaters. So I definitely hopped on this chance when World's End came out. So that also holds another special place. But it's the subtle humor of the film that I absolutely love. Plus, you get Simon Pegg's, I think, one of his greatest performances he's ever given.
It's his best
And
performance he has ever given. Let's just stop right there.
yeah. So, because, with the original Cornetto trilogy, it's always Simon Pegg. He's the guy that has his shit together. Nick Frost is the dumb friend who really is kind of a dope. This movie switched it around and it worked just as well, if not better. Simon Pegg is this cool guy in high school. The world only goes up from there, except it doesn't. And it hits on very real issues of adolescent alcoholism and how it affects them in their futures. Not to say, all popular kids in high school become alcoholics, but in this case, for him, it was his story, I guess fighting his inner demons.
I would say inner demons. And I guess the best way to put it is, like you said, he never moved on. That was the best night of his life. And like basically throughout the movie, it's him by the end,
Relive.
like reliving it, but then also breaking past that. I would say,
Correct.
obviously, with Nick Frost's help.
Yeah, and finally moving on while the world is ending around them. And plus,
Hey,
that
look, if
twist when
Trey
it
got
first.
his life together, yes, there's the apocalypse, but hey, he's all right now.
Yeah, Gary fucking King. But yeah, I'll say it again. That twist came out of nowhere the first time I watched it. I was not expecting it whatsoever. And then he pulled the kid's head off and it was a fucking robot. Blew my mind.
I think the biggest shock for me for that movie was it wasn't the alien twist, because obviously that was, in the trailers quite a bit. But just this twist that's just like the aliens are, fuck it, we're gone.
Yeah,
We don't want it anymore. It's
yeah.
like,
Just for arguing with Simon Pegg's character. It's like,
because
you
throughout the
know what?
movie, I was thinking like, oh, how are they gonna fight? Like, obviously there's gonna be a head honcho alien guy. How's it go? It's like they just give up. He talks him to
It
death.
Yeah, it turns into a drunk argument of childness.
I mean, it does prove they were kind of right. The world kind of did go to shit.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
like we said earlier, like you can't go wrong with a favorite of the Cornetto trilogy. You can't. Did you have any more other thoughts on Edgar Wright or any of the Cornetto movies?
yeah, actually, I just have one thought. Go watch his movies. You're not going to be disappointed.
Oh yeah, yeah. Obviously, put Scott Pilgrim on the least important. But hey, look, if you're looking for something to watch, it's not the worst movie. Like you'll have some fun.
You're in quarantine. Guess what? You got 4 movies to watch right now. Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, World's End, Baby Driver. In that order, you're going to have a good time.
And don't say you don't got the time, because it is quarantine. That's all you got time for. But Mike, if people have actually seen these movies, and we kind of hope listeners of this podcast has at least seen one of them, Baby Driver, where can they let us know what they thought about these movies?
Well, as always, you can let us know through our email, which is entertainmentexpansion@outlook. But hey, don't feel like using that? Come on down to our Instagram, direct message us, write a post under our, or write a comment under our latest post. And finally, we have our YouTube channel, which is fully up and running. We have a bunch more movies that we've talked about. We did talk about Christopher Nolan's films. If you want to give that a watch, that is on there as well. And that is also, you guessed it, named Entertainment Expansion. Check us out.
That's true. Also, besides Edgar Wright, we would love to hear your thoughts. Who do you want us to talk about? Because again, the plan is to have one of these every few weeks. We just finished up the second one. If you have ideas for a director you want us to talk about their work, let us know in the comments as well. We'll take that under consideration. But that is it for this week's episode. As always, thank you for listening. See you next time.